Hey everyone, and welcome to September 2016's edition of Commander on a Budget. I know it says October 2016 on the screen right now, and I'll tell you why. And that is because I'm letting you guys vote on which commander I feature in next month's Commander on a Budget in October of 2016. And I give you guys two options between two Kaladesh legends. One of them is Padim, Consul of Innovation. If you want to see me build some artifact-heavy mono-blue action, that's what you should vote for. And if you want to see me do a red-white dwarf vehicle tribal thing, then Dapala Pilot Exemplar is how you vote for it. And this is how you vote for it. Very simple. Just post in the comments of this video which of these you want to see. And now I'll let you guys see the deck tech video for this month's Commander on a Budget, which is Thada Adel Acquisitor. Thanks. Hello everyone, I am Nitsa Hone, and welcome to the September 2016 edition of Commander on a Budget. This is a monthly series where I present you guys with a deck that is built on a relatively low budget for Commander. I've decided that from now on, the highest that budget will go is around $100 in paper. I've decided to make that like a strict number for how high it can get, because sometimes my decks are 130 or something in paper. Even if they're like 28 on Magic Online, I need to make sure that they're cheap in paper as well, because not everyone plays online. And in fact, Commander is better in real life than it is online. So that's the goal from now on. And this deck is right around $100 and much less than that in paper. And it is a Thada Adel Acquisitor deck. It was a deck that was chosen in a Twitter poll by some of my followers on Twitter. So basically the deck is all about island walk, making our opponent's lands into islands and then taking advantage of that fact. The most fun thing you can do with Thada Adel is that you can be playing this budget commander deck and you can steal your opponent's $50 mana crypts and steal their swords of fire and ice and stuff like that. And she can sometimes win with commander damage because you steal all your opponent's equipment and to put it onto her and she's unblockable. And she can also just win sometimes by ramping you into huge things because you steal all your opponent's mana rocks. And so those are the two sort of routes to victory that the deck takes. And in Commander, almost everyone runs artifacts, at least like Soul Ring and mana rocks, so that's a thing you can expect people to have. So as usual, I have things sort of divided into piles. We'll start by just talking about the cards that are sort of just staples for especially a mono blue deck, like things like High Tide, where our deck is almost all basic islands. And High Tide is super good with that. We want to ramp too, so it works pretty well. We have Pongify. Blue isn't good at destroying things. Pongify lets you do it. Same with Rapid Hybridization. Of course, we have Soul Ring. We have Lightning Greaves to protect our Thada Adel, although sometimes the best thing to first steal from our opponent is a way to give our Thada Adel Hexproof or Shroud as well. We also have Felwar Stone, one of the few mana rocks we run. Reality Shift, kind of in the same party as Rapid Hybridization, in that it's not a great card, but blue doesn't have other ways to kill things, and that lets you do it. Cyclonic Rift, of course, a very powerful staple. Bounces everything. Another one of our mana rocks is Worn Power Stone. Then we have Jace Beleren. Just drawing cards is good. Trinket Mage searches up our Soul Ring. Treasure Mage searches up a bunch of stuff. We'll talk about it later. Monastery Siege helps us either draw more or make our stuff harder to kill. Imprisoned in the Moon is a new nice staple for blue that allows you to actually get rid of creatures or planeswalkers, which blue usually isn't very good at. Bite into Fast is good when you have a bunch of unblockable creatures, so we have it. We like to draw cards. Magus of the Future, just a blue staple that helps you just draw extra cards. Jace, Unraveler of Secrets, the new Jace, just a very good planeswalker, so it's fine to have here. And Jace Memory Addict, basically the same thing. And then Guardian of Tazim. I think in most mono blue decks, it's a good idea to have it, just because you're going to be playing tons of islands and tapping your opponent's dudes down. Treasure Cruise, of course, just draws you cards. So this pile here is all cards that make our opponent's lands into islands, making our Thada Adel and other creatures with Island Walk unblockable. So we have Lingering Mirage, which just lets us make a land into an island. It has the added upside of, if we've already made our opponent's land into an island and we think it's secure being an island, we can cycle it just to draw a card. Spreading Seas is nice because it also draws us a card, but it also makes land into an island. And by the way, these are sort of like land destruction to a degree because they make the land only an island. So if you put it on your opponent's dual land or tri-land and they're not blue at all, it can actually be pretty crippling to do that to them. Tidal Warrior lets us turn lands into islands. Seize Claim does the same thing. Aquatex Will, same thing, except it also draws a card if Thada's in play. Quicksilver Fountain, very sweet because it makes sure there's always an island in play on our opponent's side of the battlefield. Dreamwinder is a less awesome way, but it does let you turn your opponent's lands into islands. Flood Chaser does the same thing, can turn opponents' lands into islands in addition to being something of a threat, and Steambed Aquatex can also turn things into islands. So we have 9 ways to do it. Usually it's a good idea to try to mulligan until you can do it. And usually you're going to get one of these in your hand and feel okay about it. This pile here is all cards with Island Walk, or cards that care about islands, or cards that have special synergy with Thada Adel. So we have Chasm Skulker. It makes a bunch of blue squids with Island Walk. If our opponent has to have an island in play, well, Chasm Skulker, when it dies, is going to make some scary Island Walkers. Enclave Elite, a Merfolk, which is sort of a sub-theme in the deck that also has Island Walk, and it scales as the game goes on, and sometimes you just play it as a 5/5 Island Walker to help you finish the game. Manta Ray is basically, it's unblockable in most matchups, and it's, you know, a 3-mana 3/3. Merfolk Sovereign can also, if we can't make our opponent have an island, Merfolk Sovereign can at least make Thada Adel unblockable, so that's a pretty good deal. Sea Singer is a card that cares about islands because our opponent has to have an island, and we can gain control of our opponent's creatures with it if they have an island. Stony Brook Banneret has Island Walk, also makes Thada Adel and our other Merfolk and Wizards cheaper. Master of the Pearl Trident gives other Merfolk creatures Island Walk, and so forth. Marrow Harbinger lets us search up a Merfolk. Usually the thing to search up is our Merfolk Sovereign if we can't get our opponent to have an island to make Thada Adel unblockable. Sealock Monster, just a huge, monstrous card. Oh, also it does turn one of our opponent's lands into an island, though it does do it in a very, very late part of the game, but it does occasionally matter. Serpent of the Endless Sea just gets big based on how many islands we have. Pirate Ship can't attack unless our opponent has an island, and it just pings stuff. Colossal Whale, Island Walk, and it has an amazing attack trigger where it just exiles things forever. Until a Colossal Whale leaves the battlefield. Stormtide Leviathan, you know, a pretty nice win condition to ramp into. Just shuts the game down as it kills your opponent. And Kosi's Trickster doesn't have Island Walk, but every time we hit our opponent, it does get pumped +1/+1 counter because Thada Adel makes our opponent shuffle their library. Also, it's a Merfolk, so it gains Island Walk from all our lords. These are the things we have to ramp into, like Oblivion Sower. Also helps us ramp. It's also just a huge creature. Duplicate, just a great thing. It's a sort of thing we can search for with Treasure Mage. It's a good removal spell, and it kills things, and we can ramp into it quickly if we're stealing opponents' mana rocks. Conduit of Ruin is great because it gives us a large creature that makes all of our other creatures cheaper while also tutoring up another large creature. Arcanus is kind of a blue staple in general, but we can ramp into it on like turn 4 sometimes if we steal like a Soul Ring. Frost Titan, just a great creature to ramp into, tap stuff down, hard to kill. Confiscate lets us steal our opponent's stuff. It's basically a blue staple, but I have it here because this deck can play it very quickly. Kaiga steals opponent's creatures when it dies, on top of the fact that it also is just a large dragon. Platinum Angel, you know, just a big creature that keeps us from losing the game. Thought Reflection lets us draw a bunch of extra cards. Tromokratis is hard to kill and hard to block. Scourge of Fleets bounces all of our opponent's stuff. It also bounces... it only bounces our opponent's stuff, and we have a bunch of islands, so it's nice. Phyrexian Ingester, kind of like Duplicate, but it costs one more. Void Winnower, just a huge card that if you resolve, your opponent sometimes just can't win. Artisan of Kozilek brings us back one of our monsters, in addition to being one itself. Inkwell Leviathan, another big, very difficult to kill monster that also happens to have Island Walk. And Kozilek is easy to cast in this deck, even though we run one Blighted Cataract that produces colorless, but we steal our opponent's mana rocks, and then we can cast him with ease. We have a couple cards here that have Prowl, because believe it or not, she's also a rogue, and these are two pretty powerful cards. Prowling for 4 and stealing an opponent's instant or sorcery is pretty great, and Prowling for 6, making a ton of fairy rogues and getting an extra turn is sometimes just backbreaking. Oh, and this should have actually been over here somewhere, but I'll mention it now. It's just another way to kill creatures. Blue's not good at it, but Curse of the Swine lets you do it to some degree. So that's the deck. I'll play 3 games with it so you can see how it operates. It is a lot of fun to play. It's really fun to steal our opponent's stuff. I mean, when is that not fun? So thanks for watching. If you want to make sure you catch Commander on a Budget each and every month, don't forget to click subscribe. If you have any comments about the deck, suggestions about cards to include, cards to cut, you can post them in the comments. And if you think this deck is awesome, click the like button. Thanks for watching.